Living the dream. Some people ask about how'd you get to where you're at and what's it like. And it is a dream come true. It can be a nightmare. But by and large, it's a dream come true. So I want to ask you some questions. Everybody in the room, have you ever had a dream? A dream that was so real, so powerful, that you thought it was all the truth? I know we've had nightmares that were so real, physically and emotionally and mentally, but this dream's so good that you really thought it was the truth. Well, I go back and I want to put this out. That dreams do give us an experience to understand what can be. What can be. It's up to us to put it into a realization. I'm living my dream. There's no question about it. And my career is coming to a conclusion. And it's one of those things I have to realize. And how dealing with that is going to be very interesting. But living the dream and not allowing it to become a nightmare. I heard Mr. Seaman say that he had a fortune cookie here with a little strip in it. And I have one also that I received having dinner with my mother probably 35 years ago when she asked me a question. She said, "Why are you in this football officiating thing? It's never going to take you anywhere." That was her exact words. That evening I opened up the fortune cookie, and the fortune cookie, which I carry with me in my game bag, says, "A man with no dreams could never have a dream come true." It was kind of ironic because football officiating has taken me everywhere. So with that in mind, having a dream. How'd I get here? Am I by myself? The answer is no. Walt Disney once said, "There isn't a single man who is self-made." And I want you to think about that. Not a single man who is self-made. We've all been influenced and directed by others. And so put that into your mind. Gene talked about mentorship. I've got mentors. I want you right now to think, because I'm going to ask you guys some questions here in just a second. I want you to think of those officials that you've either seen or worked with who've left an influence on you. Who've been your mentors, I guess. I want you to put those names in your mind. I've got a bunch of people. Some of them you're going to know names of, some of them you won't. A man by the name of Don McKenzie was my very first high school referee. I worked with him for 5 years, and it was without question the most solid foundation I could ever gain. But beyond that, beyond him, I met a man, Sid Seaman, and then I met a Ron Botchin and Jerry Markbright and a Red Cashin. I met George Allen, the Hall of Fame coach, and Norm Schachter. These people all had a tremendous influence on me. So I want you to think about who those people are who helped you to get to where you are today. Those people have helped me tremendously. But now I ask the question, why? Why? What is it that they had? I want you to think right now about what is that quality that put them at the forefront of your career? What's quality? Leadership. What's the quality? Thinking, being selfless. Quality. Passion. Quality. Perseverance. I've been asking that question for over 20 years at camps and clinics, and never have I ever once heard the quality of his calls. It's something else. About 20 years ago, when Mike Pereira was the coordinator of football officials for the WAC, he was in the midst of trying to hire people, and I said, "What are you looking for?" He says, "I'm looking for guys who have it." Have it. He says, "Well, what is it?" And he says, "I don't know. I'll tell you when I see it. I can see it in that person." And so I ask, is it in their character? Is it in their DNA? Or do they just have it? Well, what is it? And I kind of put the word spirit up, the last two letters of the word spirit. It. They have a spirit about themselves, a selflessness, a compassion, a drive, a willingness to share. Not putting themselves at the forefront, but guiding in that hand that we talk about quite often. But one of the things, I go back, and Mike's going to giggle at this, because my first experience with Mike was way back in 1981 when we both broke into Division I football. And we worked for a man by the name of Jack Roberts. Surly, old guy. Nice word. And his comments were very simple. I expect you guys to be perfect and get better from that point. Wow, how intimidating is that? 29 years old, working D1 football, and a guy expects me to be perfect. And boy, I look back now and I go, I didn't know much of anything when I was in D1 football. And so you start to ask yourself, what is it? Well, come to find out, is it perfection or is it excellence that we're really trying to achieve? The media, the fans want us to be perfect. I got to tell you, perfection's God's work. I don't know that I can be perfect. I'm still striving for the perfect game. I want to have that perfect game where I never have a single foul. I mean, in the game. I've had one game with one 5-yard penalty. But after looking at the film, there should have been a few more called. I've never had a game where I've walked off and said, I nailed every piece of that game today. I'm still striving for the perfect game. Come pretty close, but not quite totally perfect. But there's a man in this room named Jerry Markbright who taught me that excellence can be achieved. Excellence can be achieved. And there's a difference between perfection and excellence. What is that perfection? What is that excellence that we're striving for? Well, that excellence comes over the years of experience and to the point where when the coaches see you, they know everything's going to be okay. When the crew walks in, they go, this guy's going to take care of us. I remember Jerry Markbright said to me, he retired from officiating. That next season, I become a referee. And he was with me in one of my first games, and he said, Tony, I want you to remember something. Look around your crew. You've got all these years of experience with you. And at some point this season, they're all going to run to you with big eyes going, Daddy, get us out of this. And they did. And that's when suddenly your crew starts saying, yeah, but what was it about me? What was it about me? I'm not quite sure at this point. But then I met Red Cashin. And Red Cashin built upon excellence by saying, true excellence is not a one-time event. Repeated excellence over and over. How do you put it together? When we work football games, as a referee, every play gives us challenges. Do you realize that from snap to the end of the play, or from the end of the play to the end of the next play, we might make 15 separate value judgments and determinations. Dead ball action, is the clock operating, down and distance, substitutions, formations. Go into it. Put this in perspective, that in a play we'll probably make somewhere between 12 and 15 judgments, times 150 plays a game, times 15 games a season. We're over 23,000 judgments. Carl Shepard, sitting in the room today, had 2 errors in judgment, I believe, last year. 2 errors. That's a 99.994% success rate. Would anybody like to have that as your employee? But you know what? We make that one mistake and we are just horrible. But excellence is not a one-time event. Let's work to do it over and over. As I heard earlier today, show them what they did right and have them repeat that process. That is what is so cool about it. So, lessons learned. What did these people teach me? Well, they taught me an awful lot about getting excited, about enjoying the game. When I look out, I say to myself quite often, fine line. I had to learn. I never knew it as a baseball player. Tried to teach it to my kids, but I learned it in officiating. There is a fine line, the finest line between being nervous and being excited. Such a fine line. And when you see that fine line, if you're on that nervous side, that's a negative side. You're thinking to yourself, what's going to happen next? But you just barely step across and see excitement. I can't wait for it to come to me. Bring it on. This is why I'm here. It's the challenge. And so, what is the fine line? It's a fine line between negativity and excitement. You know, in that, you start asking about your dream. Am I afraid to live my dream? Or do I want to live my dream? And if I want to live my dream, like we saw in that movie with Tom Hanks, there's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in officiating. Until you've been booed, as I have been, in Indianapolis with an entire stadium of 67,000 people all booing 99 sucks, 99 sucks, 99 sucks, and having the coach step up behind you and go, wow, they don't even boo me this bad. You better believe in yourself. You better believe in yourself. Am I afraid of my dreams? Not anymore. I was afraid. I was afraid of what's going to happen next. Instead of, bring it on, let's get after it. So we start looking at that fine line. You know, the game is a test, I learned. It's a test of what? It's a test of, well, it's a test of my personality, I can tell you that. I'm Italian. And tendency to, in the younger days, to really explode. But you know what? My job as a game official isn't to explode, it's to mediate. It's to calm. And so we start looking at all this. And it's a test. I'll tell you, before the test even starts, I'm like everybody else in the world. I don't want to give up officiating. You know why? Because before every game, I get the butterflies. Cottonmouth. I have to go to the bathroom 5 times before I walk out of the locker room in the last 15 minutes. And before every game, I'm standing there, and at some point, all these emotions run through. This is so wonderful. And I put my hands up, and the game is waiting for me to put the ball in play for the opening kickoff. And when I put the hands up, I just say to myself, this is too cool. It all relaxes. It all becomes a game again. It is way too much fun. Way too much fun. But it's a test of my personality. It's a test of my knowledge and understanding of the game and my place in the game. It's not my game. It's a player's game. It's a fan's game. It's a coach's game. In our league, it's an owner's game. It might be the commissioner's game, actually. But the point here is, with us, it's not our game. We can have a direct influence upon it. We want to make it fair for both sides. And so we have to understand what is our role. It's a test. Every week is a test. That's what my mentors taught me. It's a test. You know, there's a competitiveness amongst officials. And please don't misunderstand this word competitiveness. Don't misconstrue competitiveness with anything but your strength of will. Your strength of will is that competitiveness. Your strength of want to get it right. Your strength of, why am I here? And what can I do to perpetuate the fact that we might be the last bastions in integrity that the game has? Not the game, a game has. Because I learned one thing. I had a gentleman, mentor in his own right. His name is Al Jury. Worked 5 Super Bowls, and I went my first training camp with Al Jury. And we interacted through the whole training camp, and I asked him, I said, Al, can I ask one question? I'm going to carry this forever, and I've carried it forever. He says, yeah. I said, give me one thing that I can carry in my hip pocket throughout my entire NFL career. He didn't hesitate, and he just said, they all cheat. Thought about that. They all cheat. Well, we know what cheating means. But in essence, it isn't that they cheat in that sense of the word. These guys are professionals. They know what they can get away with and what they can't get away with. They know they can give a little tug here and a little tug there, and when they can't give a little tug and give another tug. People always say to me, Tony, God, I watched an NFL game, and they'll always say, you could call holding on every play. I say, no, you can't call holding on every play. Holding is a penalty. There's a lot of grabbing that goes on, but holding has a certain connotation to it. So be careful how you use the words. So competitiveness, your strength of will. These men taught me to have air. And I use this word air to represent attitude, integrity, and respect. Attitude. Each one of those people I have just mentioned to you earlier, they taught me the desire, the drive to become the leader that I would want to work under their leadership. Think about that. I don't care what position you work, what game you work, whose coaches are in front of you. Strive to be that person that if you were the coach, you'd want officiating that game. Strive to be that person that if you were the head linesman, you would want him to be your referee. Strive to have that person, if you're umpiring the bases, to be your mentor, your crew chief, who knows they're going to put you under their wing and they're going to protect you and help you and guide you. So that's what attitude's about. Integrity. Integrity is the results of our actions. It is the one thing we have control over. Our integrity. Don't go out wearing a Tim badge, they taught me, that's this big, says, I'm the sheriff and don't screw with me today. No, take that badge and put it in your hip pocket and don't pull it out unless absolutely necessary. And when you do, they already know they've crossed the line. But with it, the last one is respect. And respect is earned. I met a gentleman officiating collegiate football, and it was the last year he ever coached. His name was George Allen. He was at Long Beach State University. Excuse me. We worked a spring scrimmage for him. And I went into his office, and we were sitting talking just kind of off the cuff. And he says, so you coach baseball? And I said, yeah, I do. High school down in La Mirada. He says, that is pretty cool. And he wanted me to talk about that. I said, before you do, Coach, you've had a lot of success. Can you give me what you consider the reasons for your success? And he put up his hand like this, and he says, 5 things. Number 1, work hard. Work smart. Work with a passion. Mike, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? Love your teammates. I'm sitting there, long, pregnant pause. I said, Coach, that's only 4. He says, exactly. Number 5 is about you. What do you bring to the table? What is it that you have inside you that is going to allow you to get to a point where your players trust you, where your coaches trust you, where everybody understands the direction you're going? And that goes back to what Jerry Markbright was talking about earlier. Do all the things necessary in a leadership role. Be the leader that you would want to be working with under the direction of that person. That's having air. Well, the most important thing I think any of us will learn about officiating is to have fun. Now, how do you have fun? It doesn't mean you get out on the field and you giggle. You know what fun is in officiating? It's when that game is over. For me, I walk off the field, nobody knew I was there that day. That's fun. When I walk off the field and I can shake everybody's hand on the crew and go, we nailed it today. Of course, we wait till Tuesday to find out the league didn't think we did. But nonetheless, we nailed it today. We walk off the field and ESPN is showing the highlights of the game and not us. That's success. And it's so much fun. It's so much fun that I can't wait for the next game. Thank you very much.